we'll see something in an applied journal, and the applicant will make the case that they're targeting an audience. They know managers want to see this research, and that's appropriate, and it's not penalized. So it's not all about the impact factor. You can make a case for why a particular line of research is appropriately published in a certain set of journals, because that is where you're expecting the impact. You want to reach managers. They don't have subscriptions to science. They have subscriptions to, frontiers in whatever it is.
And I think it also wants to communicate that particular journal is for that audience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because of that impact factor monitor is something that communicating.
Many North American journals have heavy scientific content, while European journals have less, but they are more practical.
Make the case.
European journals have higher impact factor than transactional ASME, for example.
Make the case.
I think we're looking for impact. As long as you can have a good story about the impact, then people can
Yeah, and that's exactly, and if you look at, if you go back about 2 years ago, they started to change the thinking in the sense that they're de-emphasizing for everybody, applicants as well as reviewers, the numbers game.
Yeah.
And that was refreshing to actually see that, because it's not a question of, are you getting 6 good papers in our good journal where you make the impact, and for a good reason, that's going to carry a lot more weight than if you had 30 just all over the board and say, yeah, publishing is crazy. Several years ago, that was not the case. Now it is.
Where do you make that case? Where in the application do you make that
Impact
case?
of contribution.
More significant contributions.
Yeah.
As part of the CCV?
No, that's not
The
part
free
of
form.
Oh, in
Free
free
form.
form.
Most significant contributions.
Do you have advice on how to manage the new open access requirements for inserting in the application? So you spoke about publishing in all these new open access journals, or should we be asking for money that allows us to use high impact journals, but make sure that the publications are open access? So I would suggest a strategy.
No, I can tell you, all I can tell you is that is one of the most controversial things that's emanated out of Ottawa in recent vintage. And that is on the table for the agenda at COGS this fall, because comments exactly like yours coming to you already. And in fact, I have a position document that I put out and went into Central, and I haven't heard anything from the campus, but it's made its way to Ottawa. But the point is that you could easily play that game, if you want to put it that way. And it may not be to your advantage just because it's open. I know several journals that don't touch anything for 24 to 36 months. It doesn't go out to the open public, and so there could be some of the best journals you want to go into, but they just have their own policy. You cannot dictate. It's one example, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's an example of Ottawa trying to impose a policy on the rest of the world, where they're saying, look, you have to do it this way. So in fact, it may back. I don't know if it's going to be able to stand the real test, a bigger. But it's on the agenda for discussion at COGS.
When the question was raised to our program officer at a scientific conference, they said 2 things. One, there is no increased budget for it. So, so don't take it out of your research. Don't decrease your budget to make room for this. The second thing is that they are aware of the community's alarm, I guess would be the right word, and that they're looking at various ways in which this requirement can be met, like those forums where you can put a manuscript form, an unformatted article online, that sort of thing, to try to alleviate the burden that is likely to cause.
Lisa, I'm going for the IEEE journals. I don't think the requirement has to be completely open access. Even you put your own papers on your own website, because IEEE allow you to do that. I think it's kind of like to satisfy the requirement at this stage.
Some of those, it's illegal though.
That's
For a
right.
scientific
Right.
agreement.
Yeah, that's how the
But often it's just the final format that's illegal, not the manuscript. And if you can do that, then that may be the way, that may be the workaround. But they're aware that there's going to have to be some kind of workaround.
Oh, sorry. So I just have a quick question around, maybe this has been asked already, around budget for HQP. So is there a ballpark figure that you think proportionally that budget does not raise flags or for academic
of all, you shouldn't budget for postdocs, not with discovery group. There's other monies for that elsewhere. You can partially, but you're better off using it for undergraduate, graduate training, even technicians, not postdocs, because they'll swallow up all your budget before you know it, unless you've got something to share with. Secondly,
So on that point, though, like some budget for graduate student support is okay?
yeah. In fact, you should. Oh yeah,
Okay.
we look for, there's a very general rule that our committee looks at, and it's typically your overall budget is viewed favorably if it comes in the 60 to 70% of your total budget is for HQP training, excluding postdocs.
Okay.
That's our rough budget. That's a rule that we've been playing with or using in 1509 for a long time. I can't speak for other committees, but that's what we do.
That alone is very helpful.
In our committee, we're actually more than 80%.
You're at 80% there. Okay,
So
so
can you explain a little bit more on the 60%, 80%?
And for the students,
for the
it's,
student, for the training of HQP.
Which most of it goes to salaries anyway.
yeah.
That's right.
So how much is that? Maybe 6 or 7,000?
You basically have maybe a few K for
Travel.
travel and a few K for publication.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, things like that. Equipment, minor equipment, small pieces of equipment that
You
you
guys
can.
are expecting that a lot of money comes from the other grants supporting this one, right?
It doesn't see the money, right?
That's easy.
That's right.
Just a separate thing entirely around open access, I just want to flag something that the university here, and I think other universities, the library is actually working very effectively as ways of actually providing open access by archiving documents. So if people have questions around the Galaxy or sources, that's one option I would encourage people to try out. UBC is, for instance, providing a lot of archiving that will satisfy open access requirements.
Is your feeling that people should bother to try to address that change?
At this point, I would say yes. Honestly, I would honestly advise don't even try to address it because it's still under
Yeah,
advisement.
and I think I'm coming from the shirt domain, but I think there is a real sense that this is going to be solved institutionally, not
Correct.
at the
Don't even
level
try to.
of-
That's a very good point. Yeah. So put your effort and time into other aspects of developing. Don't walk away from that from a time perspective. Thank you.
So, in terms of a program, research program, can you have two relatively disparate topics, or it's not advisable?
Well, I'll speak for myself. Nobody else. I've got 4, and they have nothing to do with each other.
Okay.
Honestly,
I see
now
that.
it's 3 now because I'm too old as Peter was. But I've had 4 continuously. And they have absolutely no connection. There's 4 different programs that have been doing this for several decades, progressing along the way, and I collapsed one of them.
I think
In
the
Sept.
radio committee is really nice, but it doesn't work out.
It doesn't work in your community.
No, I think I did a mistake myself when I renewed my first answer to discovery. I put 2 topics.
Okay.
I got pretty bad with the score for my proposal, and then when I served on the committee, I asked the SSA, it would be very hard going to be excellent on one topic and how can you be on 2? So it's basically pretty bad. Very bad. At least for our committee, it's pretty bad.
But Tim, I should qualify that. I mean, make a good point. I mean, I'm in the environmental area, so I can put a lot of stuff under environmental umbrella. Everybody knows. So I'm water quality and so forth. But if I were to go into the structures area or for example geotech, I would get slaughtered. I mean, it would have gone a long time ago. So that's what you got to be careful of. But if you can take a major topic, we have a number of those in the committee where they've taken a major topic and they've fanned it out into 2, 3, 4 topics that are interrelated, yet they're distinct. They have their own target. That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
I have
For us,
a question on this. So, how much do you present your entire research program? Like I'm funded by CHR, I have CRDs, I have CPGs. How much do you put the whole picture? Because you report all your publications, so it's obvious that not everything comes from the discovery grants. So, do you show a block diagram in relationship to other grants and explain what's done under the discovery and so on?
Yeah, I think you have to describe very nicely how those other grants fit with this new discovery proposal and not to be too much of an overlap. And if it's a diagram, is the right way to explain it. I haven't seen in any application a diagram explaining the relationship between the different grants, but I think that would be possible as well. And it is understood that, and as it was mentioned several times, that you have other sources of funding. You don't rely only on the discovery grant. So it's viewed positively that the entire research program is funded by many different sources. But it has to be very clear what is new in this discovery grant in relation to all the others.
So, very briefly, research hours. I guess think one strategic application over not enough hours. And so, what do you guys recommend about it?
I don't think our committee really looked at the hours. I mean, we all know that sometimes people work 25 hours of 24 or something like that.
Yeah, you have to be careful that you don't budget. We had one case last year. It's kind of funny actually. That one of the committee members, the sub-chair, added up and said this person is working 32.5 hours a day. And that said the whole story. I mean, obviously they hadn't done their homework. They added it all up, divided by a number, came up with that. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. You know, normally we don't check it, but just this one thing, because there's just so many listed there. When we have that decisions.
One more painful thing. CCV papers, you can add the source of funding, but I think it's like 2 weeks of work to figure out the number of every grant for every paper. What, do you guys care about that, or can I just leave it blank?
Leave it blank. That would be my advice.
But in the CCV, it's more important to always highlight the students, right?
The students I understand, but the grant and the grant number and all that.
Yeah.
This is what common in your community.
Not highlighting your student names makes committees grumpy.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because we have to go through and do it. Like your first reviewer will go through and do it because they don't want you to be disadvantaged by you not doing it, which is not to say don't do it because it's annoying.
It's very annoying.
So just a reminder.
That's worth it.
To highlight your students as with an asterisk.
That pays off.
Well, except this is the heart of what's wrong. The CC. I'm a computer scientist. This is embarrassing. This is just insulting. The way you highlight it is about 16 different pull downs on a menu, and you can't say, "Show me a spreadsheet format of all of my things," and I'll just check off, the co-authors. No one should be allowed to work in a grant office who hasn't filled out a common CV.
It's like some trickster, pagan god created.
These are the people that we fail. Have you seen that? Have you seen the YouTube thing with Hitler talking about reviewer number 3? And he says his hands are the ones that we failed. Okay. The people who aren't that good are the ones who implement systems for Ottawa.
So in your
And they all live within about 6 hours of Ottawa.
in your application, you have a student that on for an CCV.
If we could take their degree back, we would.
All I can assure you, don't blame the messenger. The messengers are reviewing the university systems and so forth. I can assure
They're
you
terrible too.
Insert was the guinea pig for the new CCV 3 years ago when it came out. Unfortunately, they had no head. Insert staff had no heads up on this.
Because there was a complete vacuum at the
Yeah,
top.
and it was a facetious comment by the outgoing chair of NSERC, who's now the president of McGill University. Anyway, she said, quote unquote, it's just another data gathering exercise by the conservative government, unquote. That was her parting shot at the COGS meeting.
But there is a pattern here because you've all pretty discussed this issue about the open access. I'm actually in favor of the cost implications.